So in today's video, what I thought we'd do is talk about visas. But before we do that, let's grab some tea, let's grab some coffee, let's grab some mimosas, and let's get started. I am gonna talk about visas, but specifically I'm gonna talk about Schengen visas. I am gonna give you the processes on how to do it. You will get to know every document required, the processing time, the fees, and everything in between. I thought, let me actually get a definition from Google on what a Schengen visa is, and I'm just gonna read it for you, just so you know what it is about, right? So a Schengen visa is a travel document that simplifies and streamlines the travel within a Schengen area by allowing visitors to move freely among members of countries without the need of additional visas or border checks. Its primary purpose is to promote tourism, facilitate business activities, and enhance ease of travel within participating European countries. So there is a list of European countries that are part of the Schengen area, so what we call the Schengen area. I am not going to call all of them because it's a lot of them, but just to give you an idea, I am mostly going to talk about Austria today because you guys know that I'm currently living in Austria. So you have Austria, you have Belgium, you have Czech Republic, you have Germany, and it's a number of countries. I'll put them on the screen for you so you know them and you know that these are the countries that we're talking about when we are talking about Schengen area. Yeah, if you apply in any of these countries, you would be able to get a Schengen visa, and this Schengen visa would let you move freely amongst these countries. So good luck, and I'm guessing that if you're watching this video, you are probably trying to travel to the EU or the Schengen areas, because we do have some countries where you can travel with the Schengen visa, and these countries are non-EUs. An example is Switzerland is not part of the EU, but you can also still travel to Switzerland with this Schengen visa. So yeah, the first thing first that we're gonna do is you are gonna navigate to the site. I'll provide all the links that are required so you can do this with me.
So you're going to navigate to VFS and go to Start Now, start the process, identify visa type, click on visa type and select the visa type. In this case it's only one, and scroll down. There you will be able to find the documents that you need for downloading: application form, and you also need the checklist. So these are like very important. You need to get these two documents and make sure you have them ready with you. And the last one is visa requirements, which is the same as in a way, the same as the checklist, but this one is actually from Austria, the embassy that is, and they would be able to tell you everything that you need to know.
2 is the checklist. Now I have the checklist with me. I have downloaded it for the sake of this video. It is, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but also I will try and also just attach it here so you know and see what is required. So the first thing that you need is you're gonna need your valid passport, at least 3 months after the applicant's last day of stay in the Schengen state. So you need to make sure that this passport is at least 3 months valid before you actually travel. The next thing is you need minimum 2 blank pages of copies, because when you get the visa, they will attach the visa into your passport. So you need at least 2 pages that are blank, otherwise your application will not be valid. And the next thing I've mentioned is you need the application form that is completed and signed. And make sure when you do sign this application form, you read thoroughly what are the requirements. It's very straightforward, so you just need to read it through and make sure that you are applying and you're putting the right details. It's very important, I have to emphasize, it's very important that when you're applying for visa, you are putting in correct information. And this would make sure that you don't get to jeopardize your application in general. The next thing that you need is 2 things that I need to mention here. You need the flight reservation, and this is not a prepaid ticket. You need to make sure that it's just like a dummy flight application This is found in places like your flight center. I don't know which other platform. I assume there's other platforms where you can get this, but I always get it from flight center and also travel insurance. So with travel insurance, again, you want to be in a position where you make sure you get this also at flight center. But also there's other places. I know for some of you, if you're watching from South Africa, your medical aid might actually offer travel insurance, and you just need to call them and tell them like, hey, I'm traveling on this day to this day, I need to get a travel insurance. I assume this would be at no fee at this point, but if you are going through the route of like flight center, for example, it definitely would be charged for. And I know again that if you have a credit card of some sort, I don't know, like your Amex or different kinds of credit cards, this would definitely be able to get you a travel insurance at no fee, just because you have, or you are part of their system, or you are their member in this case. So I guess it helps to a certain degree. And if you are traveling on your own and you don't have any member in the state that you're traveling to, you would also need accommodation. So pretty much get this. I think if you go to booking.com, for example, places where you can actually book accommodation and you don't have to prepay. So make sure that you don't prepay anything, because you don't know if you'll get the visa, and you don't want to be paying a lot of money and then you don't get the visa. Then it's messy for everybody involved, mostly yourself, because you would have paid a lot of money. So yeah, I advise that you get one that you don't have to prepay. If you go to booking.com, and some hotels also do offer free, like you pay on arrival. You just have to have that booking. Okay, so another document that you need is proof of accommodation. So proof of accommodation, let me explain it in two ways. You have accommodation with financial sponsorship, or accommodation without financial sponsorship. So we have things like sponsorship, which applies if you have family or you have a friend who is living in Austria. You need to be in a position where if you have a friend and if you have family that are hosting you, then you ask them for a certain document. It's called Meldezettel. It's from the municipality. And this is to make sure that the embassy knows that there's someone who lives in Austria that is going to be hosting you. Another thing that they would need to do, either friend or family, they will need to send out a letter to the embassy to let them know that, hey, beyond the fact that I'm giving this Meldezettel, I am declaring that I am able to host this person for this time and this time. And this is what actually now brings us to the next thing, which is the itinerary. You need an itinerary when you are traveling to Austria. They would need to know how long are you staying, which part are you going to be traveling. If you are going to be traveling outside of Austria as well, mention that in your itinerary. Remember, one thing about like travel, and one thing about getting visas, the state needs to know that you are not their burden when you're here, and you will not be their burden for as long as you're here. So every little detail matter, and it has to be very descriptive. I have one itinerary that I've created. I was trying to help with my mom's application. This was very detailed because I mentioned the arrival date and when she would arrive, and also the name of the airport and time and all those kind of stuff. And then the daily activities. So for example, we have like daily activities includes museum, exploring historic sites, and enjoying Austrian cuisines. And I literally went as far as we plan to visit Schönbrunn Palais, Cathedral, Hofburg, and many other places, and we have lunches in there and a whole lot of stuff. I've broken it down, and also like days where we plan to travel outside, and like I've mentioned day trips to Salzburg, and then I mentioned the date and all this kind of stuff. So this is very important, and maybe I will attach this as well for you to be able to know. So beyond this, also I have a letter that I have written to the embassy, which has my address, and I was like, to whom it may concern, I'm writing to formally invite my mother, and I listed her name, and then who was born at this date. I listed her age, and also a citizen of South Africa, to visit me in Vienna for the purpose of exploring the country as a tourist. And the intended duration stay, this is very important, the intended duration of stay. And then I mentioned the duration between this time and this time. And I also have had to mention that I know my mom. I know that's weird, but hey, it is what it is. And I was like, yeah, we plan to show her around the beautiful side and attraction of Austria. I will be responsible for her accommodation, transportation, and other financial requirements during her stay. So this is actually to highlight that this is a possibility if you have someone that is coming as a family. For example, like my mom is my family, so in this case she would not be taking responsibility when it comes to financial needs when she's here. So I mentioned that on the application that I would be responsible for her accommodation, transportation, and any financial requirement during her stay. I have attached the itinerary and her planned activities of a visit, including places she intends to visit and cultural events she may attend. I kindly request that you grant my mom the necessary visa to facilitate her visit in Austria for these purposes, and I assure you that she has no intention to overstaying her visa in Austria and engaging in any illegal activities while in Austria. And I also ensure that she returns to South Africa as planned. So as I've mentioned to you guys again, the state need to make sure that you will be returning back to your country and that you will not be their burden when you are in their country. So this is very important to actually mention. And then please find the attached following documents to support my mother's visa application process. Copy of her passport, copy of my passport, because somehow I have to prove that I am related to her. Also a proof of residency, as I mentioned to you guys, it's called Meldezettel. And then the itinerary of her planned activities during her stay. And I attached my email address and also my phone number in Austria. So if you are being invited by somebody and they are sponsoring your visit, the most important thing that is required also is the fact that there's an affidavit that they would need to get from the police. It's called EVE. You can Google it and just figure it out. And they will give you a reference number. So you would have to provide that reference number when you are applying for the visa. And now moving forward, we have proof of employment. This is very important if you are not being sponsored. You would need a proof of income, and then also start of employment and relationship, monthly salary, and the duration of your vacation. So this is very important to be able to list your employment. It actually somehow do boost your chances of being granted the visa in Austria. And the next thing that you need is the proof of financial means. So the proof of financial means in this case, they would need the last 3 months banking statement of your current account showing the monthly income and a positive balance. So you can't be on negative in this case. And one thing that is not being mentioned on the checklist that is very important is that your banking statement, when you divide it, you should be able to have like at least 50 euros a day for every day that you are in Austria. So let's say you are coming for 2 weeks, for example, you want to be in a position where on every day of those 2 weeks, you are covered with at least 50 euros a day. And that is very important. You want to be in a position to cover that part and make sure that you come in really ready. And yeah, so I think that is more like it as far as the requirements are concerned. You, just as a recap, you need your passport, you need your proof of travel insurance, you need a filled application form, you need photographs. I actually forgot this part. And you need, I guess I mentioned travel insurance, and also flight reservation, proof of accommodation. If you're not being sponsored, request this, I guess, from you're booking hotel or whatever in this case. And also you need proof of employment, you need a proof of financial means. So have all this document ready, and you will be in a position to apply for your visa, and hopefully it gets approved for you. I'm crossing fingers for you, and make sure that you have everything ready. And another thing that is very important that I want us to jump to now is the fees, right? The fees for the visa application in general are 1,500 rands. This is 80 euros. And then you have a service fee. I mentioned VFS, which is a mediator, so you don't go straight to the embassy, you go to VFS. So when you go to VFS, they have a service fee of 480. And you have an option to choose if you want them to courier your documents to you, or if you want to pick up at VFS. If you don't want to pick up and you want your passport to be couriered to you, it is 180. And another thing is, if you want to be alerted by SMS in every step of the way of what is happening, they will let you know. So for example, when your passport has now been shipped to the embassy, they will let you know via SMS that we've taken your document, and when it's back as well, they will definitely let you know. So that process of that SMS fees are something that I actually like being paid for. It's not free, so you pay a certain amount. I forgot what that amount is, but I had paid for that in general, which means that the process is now 2,300 altogether. This is only for the visa and the service fee and courier, and also this email and SMS communication processes. And then we jump to the travel insurance. So the travel insurance, you have a service of altogether, like the insurance if you're getting it on Flight Center. I guess this is based on how long you are going to stay. It is altogether around 2,900. So like just round it up and say 3,000. So I guess altogether this is like around your 5,000 something. So all the best. It is not cheap. So make sure that everything that you are listing and you're putting in place, you have your documents in order, and you would be in a position to get your visa. Now the next thing that I want us to talk about is the processing time. So you would have booked your appointment as I showed you guys in the beginning, and you submit your document at VFS in this case, and they will ask you a few questions like security questions in this case, and you will then be in a position to have your passport now then be shipped to the embassy. So the embassy will take at least 15 days, which is 3 weeks, to process your application. It may be sooner, especially when your documents are in order. It might actually just take a week or so, but the official timeline is 15 days. So spare the 3 weeks, and if you're planning to travel, consider that there's 3 weeks of processing time that you will need to consider. And when you have this in mind, you would be in a position to just plan your time and make sure that it is in order. So I'm wishing you all the best also in the processing time. When you actually receive your passport back, to know that you have gotten, or your passport or visa was approved, what you get is just your passport, right? And they would have attached the visa on the last pages, or mostly the last pages, so just like a random blank page. That's where you will find your visa, and this visa would then mention the timeline. So we are giving you the visa from this time to this time. And yeah, so that is more like it. And then unfortunately, if you would not be approved, your passport will come with another copy or a letter that actually mentions and explain why your passport was not approved. Yeah, and don't, if it happens that you are not approved, don't actually take it personal. These things happen sometimes. I know it might be sad actually when it does happen, but yeah, it is what it is sometimes. Just find out why it was not approved. And in some embassies you can appeal, but you would have to wait for certain days or months before you can actually appeal. I will attach everything that is required on this video, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video so much. I hope you managed to get your visa application, and I hope this is helpful. If anything was not clear, let me know in the comments, and I will be gladly available to help with visa application. I will not get into detail because it is a process unless you want to pay me. Anyway, I don't provide such services. So just generally, if there's anything that I said and you did not understand, just try and clarify on the comments below, and I will be in a position to clarify for you. Don't forget to let me know how you're doing on the comments, and also please share this video with anyone who you think might benefit from it. Love you guys.